So Benjamin Politics actually blocked me after my last video, and the video he posted after that was this one on trans suicidality, and you're going to want to see what I found out. So let's respond.
Looking at studies on the subject, ones that have at least 1,000 participants, show that experiencing nonviolent discrimination predicts a 10% increase in suicidal behavior. So this is little to show why trans people are 900 times more likely to attempt suicide than cis people.
If you look, there's actually only 2 cherry-picked studies here, one of which goes out of its way to highlight that its results were underestimates, but more importantly, trans people are not 900% more likely to attempt. That's a bad estimate based on these numbers. Basically, the lifetime ideation of trans people is being compared to cis ideation in the past 12 months, giving you this botched 900% figure, if you don't know how to read studies.
Also, a majority of the effects in these studies are not statistically significant.
Is someone being tripped up by psychology jargon? Statistical significance is a technical psychological term about confidence intervals. It doesn't mean that the numbers don't prove a link.
Looking at geographical location, there is a correlation with trans suicide rates and trans acceptance in society.
I wouldn't expect a geographic link because discrimination varies even in the same countries, but there is a correlation if you look at ideation rather than attempts using these same studies.
And the research on transitioning itself shows that post-transition individuals actually have a slight increased chance of suicide.
No, these studies weren't even studying pre- and post-transition suicidality. This one says transition decreases the risk, and so does this one.
But the same can be said for social transitioning. This study found that those who completed transition had suicide rates that didn't differ from those who were waiting on transition.
Only social transition. In other words, medical transition is important too, as the study highlights.
So no, nonviolent discrimination is not the main cause of trans suicide rates, and transitioning does not help these suicide rates.
So that's obviously wrong, but I was kind of curious. Where did Ben get all these cherry-picked comparison tables? Well, it turns out he's reading word for word from a WordPress blog called Ideas and Data, and when I say word for word...
Looking at studies on the subject, ones that have at least 1,000 participants, show that experiencing nonviolent discrimination predicts a 10% increase in suicidal behavior. So this is little to show why trans people are 900 times more likely to attempt suicide than cis people.
But okay, he got it from a dodgy WordPress article. I guess that's okay if the guy's blog is a sensible one. Right? Let's see what else that guy's written about. Race and political ideology.
Race, IQ, and brain size. Blacks have smaller brains than whites.
Jewish influence on American politics. This should be interesting. But this filtering out of conservative voices was only possible because of the initial capture of American institutions by the left. And this process was the direct result of the inflow of Jews into the American elite.
Racial ancestry and IQ. Thus, racial differences in intelligence are significantly caused by genetics.
Whiter nations in the Americas tend to be more economically free, but they are richer on average mostly because of their high IQs.
Jews displaced an American intellectual elite, which used to be primarily comprised of liberal Protestants. The fall of the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant rule then shifted the elite in a leftist and egalitarian direction.
White people are becoming a minority in this country, and I'm suggesting that it would be helpful to set up a culture which allowed for the creation of something like a white caucus in Congress, white civil rights groups, and a general push against anti-white norms. So don't use random right-wing WordPress blogs as your source, and if you do, make sure the author isn't a eugenicist first. Thank you to Matt and Soraya for helping me with this video. They did some of the readings with me. They're 2 great creators, and you should definitely go and check them out.